when was the first mass held in these islands that now we call the Philippines? Go ahead.
Okay, Jay, I'll tell you my own feeling about it. Look, technically speaking, they say it is in the Visayas area, the Masawa or Butuan or Basawa Island. We don't know.
When was that? Could you
Well,
please
more
give
or
a
less 1521
All
when
right.
Magellan arrived.
Okay.
We presume that they did not celebrate Mass before that. But remember, there were priests on board these boats. So every day, they would require, rather permitted, to say Mass. Remember, they landed in Omonhon, an island, in Suluan, another island, spent a few days there. The priests could have very well celebrated Mass on their own, without getting a large gathering, as they did on the mainland of either Mindanao or Limasawa. So that means what kind of a Mass? It means on the mainland, recorded, that would be the one recorded in Mindanao, Butuan area or Limasawa. There's a controversy going on. Now, that is 1521. And remember, the group they had were basically Magellan's boat had Agustinians and other, I think Agustinians basically. Now, that's 1521. You have to also remember that long before the Spaniards were in Latin America, the Romans, the Italian missionaries were coming to Asia to spread the gospel. They had Catholic priests and bishops in China long before Catholicism came here via the Portuguese or via the Spaniards. The Romans, remember the old Roman China, Britain and Rome and China was an old trading project, either by land across the desert, and later on with the help of the Arabs who knew the Indian Sea very well, by boat.
So the Silk Road would be the first one, right? Am I correct? Is that what they...
I'm just telling you,
Yes.
Silk Road could have been, the Silk Road route could have been possibly a route of the Romans when the Europeans went to China. Please, that's celebrating in Mass in China. Maybe they did that. But what I'm leading to is that earlier, more than a century before Magellan, 1423, more or less, there is record in Italian of the visit of a certain Father Odorico, recorded visit, who could stop in certain places like India and other places in what we now call as Southeast Asia, on his way to China to meet with the Bishop of Rome, who was in Peking. And the records indicate that there was a time when he had to stop in an area nearest to China because of bad weather. And the way it was described was other documents seem to point that he could have stopped in the area called Bolinao, what we now call as Bolinao, because that's the only safe cove there is, there's typhoon, before you go to the Macau area or to the Hong Kong area. They didn't exist at that time, to Canton at that time. To this day, when boats, yachting boats, sailboats, return to Hong Kong after the China Sea race, that's more or less the last point. They hide, they seek shelter if there are typhoons. And when the typhoon is good, when the winds are good, that's where they leave. From there, they go to China, to Hong Kong. Now, I have also had that experience, having been a sailor before. Bolinao is a very good cove. My suspicion, and so did other people have read on it, there are books on that, was that Odorico was inside that cove with an Arab boat. Because at that time, it was basically the Arabs who were ferrying Europeans there, because the Europeans had not yet come to Asia. but the Arabs dominated it. Remember, uh, so many stories about the Arabs, Ibn Battuta, etc. as this, would also pass by on the way to Molina. Let's say from Sulu or from Moluccas, they would go to China. Molina was a safe anchorage. The story was that this boat trip, which Father Odorico utilized, had to seek cover during a strong typhoon. And most likely it was Molina, because the way Father Odorico describes his voyage, it are many points that remind me of Molina. And the other priests have written about it. The one who began it is a fellow called Father Luigi Malamoco from Italy, who was here for many years doing research. And to this day, there exists a plaque in Molina Church about the visit, possible visit of Father Odorico in Molina, and having celebrated a mass there before he set sail for Canton. So, people in Molina believe in this. Father Luigi Malaboco has done research on it. And I feel that we should look, we Filipinos, into our history, not beginning from the time of
Spanish times.
from Spanish colonialism, where many of our records were sadly destroyed by the colonizers. We had our own historical records, which we probably have to dig elsewhere, where there were probably recordings of other visits. Ibn Battuta must have passed here. He was as Muslim who lived in Andalusia when it was still under the Arabs. He was a missionary, well known, Ibn Battuta. And so I suspect, as I said, he wasn't a Catholic, but they were Catholic, they were Christians in South Spain. Remember, this is 1421, 14. So, with that tradition, I said, and the people in Pangasinan believe in that concept, I suggested that more studies be made about this. And that's why we have the statue here of Odorico. Now, it's something that is worthwhile pursuing for those who are concerned with the first Mass. He could have very well celebrated Mass before the typhoon to seek protection, or after the typhoon, as Father Bolamoco suggests, a thank you Mass, because there is record that in that island, Father Odorico of Friuli, Italia, has spent at least a month dealing with the people, with the so-called the leaders, male and female, queens or datus, in an island. And the only big island off the coast of what is now Pangasinan is the island of Santiago, which is always a cove, as I said, for any boats that are found in the China Sea during a typhoon, and meet a typhoon in the China Sea, they repair to that port. So that is an interesting study. Requires more research for those who are concerned. For those people that want to be concerned with the first Mass, whether it's the first Mass in the Philippines or the first mosque in Simunul or parts of Colo, we have our own religious minorities. Well, each one can make his own research. But I thought we should open up our vistas, our views about our history as a people, more than just the period of the coming of the Mexicans and Spaniards, who are also good, great explorers. That's all I want to say, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you very much.